Oh, so with that trends, yeah, let's just keep going. Like, fuck. There's so many bad side quests in movies that are pointless, and they ruin the movie.
They really do.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And it sometimes it's. I think the idea is more money, more runtime. Like, and they also need like a movie to be a certain time to like fill seats. But every movie on average is like 2 hours, isn't it? Or like 2 or 3 hours.
An hour and a half for most movies.
No, I mean like before it's edited.
Then it's like 5-ish plus.
The point is if that's the movie you're going to turn out, like, shame on you. I mean, it's why they're doing the whole they're redoing the Snyder cut of whatever the fuck. Dawn of Justice.
Justice League.
Yeah. I heard about that.
When I heard about that, I actually, like, my jaw dropped. Because I was like, no way. I thought it was bullshit, to be honest. Thought it was just some joke news. But no.
Real.
But if it's bad, then Warner Brothers has no excuse, and they will sell to Disney.
Real.
Yeah, exactly. The corporate overlords.
Oh,
Here's the real
you know,
question.
corporate
Will
overlords.
China buy out Disney, or Disney buy out China?
That's an
Both.
excellent question, honestly.
Which corporate overlord will take over the world first?
Corporate overlord will win.
The race for corporate supremacy is on. Will the nation win, or the child-friendly juggernaut?
My money's on the child-friendly juggernaut.
You know what?
All hail the corporate overlords.
I can't decide. It's too thin. Too thin of a discussion.
And with Cyberpunk coming out, the world would be
Trying to
completely
please-
changed. It's half Chinese and half Disneyland.
Oh my goodness.
Could you imagine? I haven't played that game yet, but imagine
haven't
if that
either.
was it. That would make my
They
life-
released a patch for. I'm playing on PS4, and everybody says it was really bad, but they released a patch that fixed like everything.
Of course, day one
The
patches.
game's.
That's
It was 48 hours.
Yeah.
day one patches are fine.
It was after day two, because day one patch is what usually the game comes with anyway, right? So that it becomes available on your It's stupid. That way they can time lock the game, basically.
So what are the
But,
side quests like on that game then? What do you do?
Expansive and immersive and long as fuck.
Oh,
Some of them are anyway. Some of them are go rescue random net runner, and then you get them kind of like an ally or whatever. Other ones are like you're helping the cops out. I've done a couple even investigation style missions. They're kind of interesting.
I've heard
They're not just go kill a bunch of people.
Which start did you choose?
Corpo.
I heard the game is really, really similar to like a way more serious version of Saints Row.
Sort of. It's all first person too.
Like, I've heard a lot of people tell me.
No, it's closer to like if you ever played Shadowrun. It's like same universe kind of, except for the fact that the difference between the two is in Shadowrun they have
Graphics.
mutants. Everybody, like half the world is mutants, but they've
Graphics.
named them as orcs and trolls and fairies, and it's Shadowrun had the same thing happen to its universe as The Witcher did. Actually, two universes collided on each other, like a fantasy universe and a human.
I actually never played Shadowrun, but I did hear
In
about
Shadowrun, the corporations are usually run by dragons, but it's another corporation.
it. It's a really neat idea.
Yeah, dragons are usually really old and powerful, right? So they've had all this time to amass this wealth, and they run, like, one of the most powerful dragons known in the game is named Lopweir, and he runs the most powerful corporation in the game.
But back to Cyberpunk. So what, like, do you find the side quests engaging? Are they as engaging as Borderlands? Because I find that Borderlands 2
I wasn't a big fan of Borderlands. It's one of the few games I've never been able to really get into.
Not even the second one? Because the second one was...
I have the Handsome Jack collection. I can't play it for more than about an hour. I don't know why.
didn't
I
really
just don't
enjoy
find
it.
it. Yeah, not at all. Whereas I play Destiny, so I'm a masochist in that way.
My buddy plays Destiny. I can't do that.
I love it.
I can't do the grind quest, guys. I did that when I was a kid. I played WoW. I played Eternal Lineage.
Yeah, I love WoW.
I
I
played
played a lot of
RuneScape.
Skyrim.
That's where this whole idea for this topic came from. RuneScape.
RuneScape. Actually, that's what my buddy's
I
playing
beat
right
the
now.
game
He
by
tried to
just.
get me to play Terraria.
Oh, you
so
beat
that
the
he can get
game just
away
by
from-
fishing krill. Hey, Terraria is a great game. The whole game is.
Yeah, I know. He wants you to play Terraria, so it gets him off of RuneScape.
RuneScape is ridiculous. It's just and talk like I don't know how I did it. Like going around in Eternal Lineage and killing fucking boars, like literally, or tigers for like 15 hours to level up and grind out a drop that would drop maybe 1 in every 15, and it was like a 20% drop, and you had to collect 100 of them. That was literal quests that I would do. And it just Cassandra says little details can mean the most in the most weird ways, in ways you would not imagine. It is honestly true. And it can help. Like you can get little bits of lore or little bits of a little bit extra from the game, especially if you do it right. Like in The Witcher, if you do all your side quests and you actually complete the game in a full way, you get a more satisfying ending.
Yeah.
They don't just Mass Effect it on you.
I like the Lady in the Lake side quest.
Witcher 3?
Yeah. And that really good sword that you can take back to
that's what I thought.
New Game Plus.
The best sword in the game was in the Dream World in a river.
One of the best swords.
No, the best sword. Trust me.
There was the one that leveled up with you, though.
And that was found in a side quest where you get thrown into an Alice in Wonderland. And that's why I said The Witcher. Like, talk about making side quests well. Like, everyone felt great. You know, another game that did it well, it doesn't get a lot of praise, is Final Fantasy 15. I'm still like not beating that game because I get so enthralled in the side quests. It's just nothing's the same. It's not repetitive at all. And that just shows love. Like the more someone puts love into something and then they actually develop where you get side quests like what you do with your world, Jeremy, it actually makes it more engaging. It makes me want to engage it. It's why I wanted to talk to you about this first, because when you build something like the door or the Goblin City or whatever you build in your world and you leave it open, you make it so engaging that it's really hard to choose. It's so hard because each one has its own narrative, and you can and when you actually when we play it, or when you actually play it in a game, or when you actually see it played out, it makes it that much more rewarding internally. And that's why, like, for last Friday when we were doing our thing and everything was going on with Caden, like, I just, in one sense, I was jealous because it's what I wanted. I wanted my character to be ritualistically become the avatar of his god. But instead, all my people got stolen, and they got used for Caden.
And they became,
you know what?
my
Mad
sacrifices.
respect, like, because that's just like, it's got it. Honestly, like that's the most villain thing I've ever seen. Applause.
And I had nothing to do with it.
That being said, yeah. Anyone else have anything to add?
Personally, I like to complete all the side quests in general in games.
Quests drive me crazy.
I like them because it's just like that, like you get that little bit of lore here and there, even if they are repetitive.
I'm just a very linear person. Being interrupted to do a side quest drives me nuts. Like, John, it's not so much a side quest now as it is the main storyline, but when we, in your D&D campaign, when we were suddenly transported to Icewind Dale, it drove me crazy. I almost lost my mind. Like we were on the path of one thing, and then suddenly we were completely switched to something else. Oh.
So you're very linear. That's hilarious. I've seldom met someone who actually just does the main story.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move on to our final topic of the day. Intelligence versus wit. As I talked about at the beginning, this is a character development problem. A lot of people develop characters in any kind of medium, games, videos, movies, you name it. And there seems to be a misunderstanding, I'll put it, as what is intelligence and what is wit. Wit can be a variety of things. It can be cleverness. It can be their ability to think fast on their feet. It can be the ability to assess a situation that they're not used to or not comfortable with, and discern the best way to either maybe exit the situation or guide themselves through so that they can come out not on top, but at least through a situation. Intelligence is not the same. And by that I mean intelligence in my mind, and please, anyone, please talk out and tell me different if they don't believe it. When I see intelligence, I imagine intelligence as the ability to view analytics in a way that people can't. Being able to understand things that either characters or people or anyone else who may be in the space with them wouldn't fully understand themselves. And I also imagine intelligence also being the ability to basically understand a social situation. It's not about being prideful or being arrogant. It's about the idea of you're extremely smart. Whether that is in terms of mechanics, whether in terms of analytics, whether it comes to computing, what have you. And the best example to kind of show that, I would say the difference between if you've seen 007, if you've seen GoldenEye, and if you've seen The Wolf of Wall Street, Leonardo DiCaprio versus Boris Yatslov. Boris is intelligent, and The Wolf of Wall Street, Leonardo DiCaprio's character is witty. He's not intelligent, he's wit. He uses his wit to get through and get to the position of power he's at. And then eventually it runs out because he's actually not intelligent. And so when they see through his hollow way of living, he then falls out and he gets imprisoned. Where Boris, even though he's a villain, he's extremely intelligent, and he uses his intelligence to an advantage of his. Whether that be hacking, whether that be using computer programming. And he's not actually, though he's portrayed as not physically strong, that may not be true, because there are intelligent people who are actually physically strong, but the idea is their focus is on their mind, where a witty person, it's more their body language, and it's more their ability to, and charisma, you could say. And a lot of people, and I find that there's a huge blending of that in a lot of written material and a lot of games and a lot of television. Television and movies is the worst for it. Horror movies, just name your horror movie. And it just it seems to be a common accepted thing, but when you see it not portrayed, it's considered, what a great movie. Oh my God, they're actually intelligent. And I just don't understand why it seems to bleed in so much. Thoughts, anyone? No?
Really?
Dead silence? Was my oration that good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, do you agree?
Yes. I do. I don't really have a lot of in-depth thoughts on this, but I think you're right. There is very definitely a difference between the ability to think on your feet and just being smart.
But do you see it like I do? Is it as prevalent as am I talking about, or am I just like, come on, Sarah?
Oh, I'm trying to think of something.
You're on the spot. Let's hear it.
No, you go on the spot.
What about you,
talk.
sir? You can answer too.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I don't know. There is a difference too between thinking quickly and like saying something quickly too, right? Being quick, I guess, quick-witted and quick intelligence, almost. Because I remember sometimes people will say shit to me and I'm just not witty. I'm just slow as fuck, right? But
Yeah, me too.
usually, if it comes to like some form of intelligence, my brain will jump to a conclusion really quickly.
And
I
that's
can switch between the two usually.
so. When would be a good time to actually portray that? When are we going to truly get our 100% Tony Stark figure, who can be the amalgamation of intelligence and wit?
Didn't we get that already with Elon Musk?
With Elon Musk?
Elon Musk, yeah.
But he's not that
He's
witty.
got an Iron Man suit somewhere.
He's not that witty. If you ever watch him in like
Yeah.
interviews, he's not that witty. He
Or
thinks
he
he's
could be
funny.
act-
Not like Stephen Hawking, whereas I hear he is funny as fuck.
Well, he was funny as fuck. God
Yeah.
Fair. Oh, right.
rest his soul.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Lost the science community there.
You have to be witty though. If you're sitting in a, if you're only able to
That's not true.
if you're only able
Especially
to
with the level of his like humor, I was, from what I heard, was hilarious.
Alright.
Stuff like pretending to be like dead in his chair, just like
Oh my
freak
goodness.
people out.
true story about Stephen Hawking for everyone in case you didn't know this. I don't know what year this is. I don't remember. But years ago, he all of a sudden made a release in a newspaper. You can look this up. And he definitively said there is no such thing as time travel. And it's because the day before he paid for ads across television to say tomorrow at this location, at this date in this location there will be a time traveler's ball.
I'm
And
actually he advertised it after it happened.
he advertised it after it happened. And he was there and no one was there. So he proved definitively, because it's basically the way he set it up is this ad's going to exist in archives. And so that if anyone ever can time travel and prove that time travel exists, go back to this time traveler's ball and say hi to Stephen Hawking.
Unless
Now-
someone did come and he just lied about it.
Now I was going to say,
if-
now there's a
What
lot
if
of
no one
theories.
actually wanted to come to the
No,
ball?
there's actually theories that
Oh my
maybe
God,
he
what are
did
you
meet
talking?
someone. But yeah, that's a true story.
You could realize that maybe coming back in time would disrupt the time period, so that way they couldn't prove that time travel existed.
I would just like to say that's a pretty good example of using your intelligence as a form of wit. You know,
Yeah.
that's very tongue-in-cheek way, and that's good. But I feel that it's too commonly associated together because there's how do I say it? There's some witty characters when they're seen as too smart, or there's the often problem where you have a person with intelligence who has no wit. You can think of, like I said, horror movies. Cabin in the Woods is the first one that comes to mind. When you have the two scientists, and there's one laying on the ground, he could easily get up and move, and he just waits for this monster to come up and eat him.
Because that was his choice, and he wanted that one.
But you understand what I'm getting at, though.
I get where you're coming from.
It's such a waste of character. It's such a waste of, and such a. I'm losing my words here. It's such a waste of using a character that could be seen as wittier, as if they didn't want them to portray them as intelligent, they could have had more of a wit, and it just detracts. I keep thinking about that scene, and a lot of people like it because for the comedic value, but I don't know.
From a story point of view, it didn't make sense.
What about you, Sarah? In your writing, how do you portray usually wit over intelligence, or do you use both?
No, I've never thought about it that way.
Mm-hmm. But you must write an intelligent character or a witty character, or maybe you amalgamate together.
Definitely say that I amalgamate it together. I would also say, I mean, I try to write rounded characters who aren't. There's not one person who's a genius and then another person who's an idiot. There's a person who is smart and good at this thing, and then a person who's smart and good at this thing. I'm sure there might be a genius or an idiot at some point eventually, but for the most part, the people are not monoliths, and they have multiple different skills and areas that they're good or bad at.
Well, I wouldn't say genius versus idiot. I would say more like when you portray someone who is, because you work in fantasy, someone who's relatively, let's say, Dumbledore-esque in terms of their level of magic control. Would you usually write them to have a certain level of wit? Is there something that is there a certain level of wit you would kind of expect from a character who's so powerful or so intelligent? Or do you leave that to let's say you leave it to develop over time? How would you write it so it comes across as an intelligence kind of wit, other than, let's say, someone who would be a thief, or someone who would have more think faster on their toes for different sort of reasons?
Sure. I don't know.
Neither do I. That's why I'm asking.
I don't know.
Neither do I. That's why I'm asking. That's why.
Yeah, no.
What about Jeremy? Same question. I mean, I'm sure you've had to write your fair share.
I hope some of this kind of shows up a little bit in some of the characters that I've made. Stuff like Shadow Man, who seems to be a little bit more intelligent, witty, but kind of conceals it. Or then you have stuff like even the vampire pirate kings, right?
Wait, they were vampires?
So what Jeremy's talking about in our game, he built a full universe, and the Shadow Man and the Vampire Kings are members of our universe. But when you develop them, so do you blend when you blend intelligence and wit? Do you weigh one more over the other, or is one more of a causality of the other?
That depends also on the character too. I try to get into, I guess the best way to say it is get into the character's headspace. Kind of like an actor might, or a role, like a live action LARPer might. How does this character act? Like, what do you want them to be? And then once they are that, how are they going to think, or how do they respond to certain things?
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, you want them to be intelligent about things. In other cases, you might want a character who's just super witty, but he's not intelligent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay. Well, I would say when I build my characters, I definitely do what I said on the ladder. I definitely use intelligence as a causality of wit, or vice versa, depending on how the character develops in my mind. Especially when it comes to big bad evil guys in my books or in my games, I always look at not just their intentions. That comes without saying, but their ability to achieve their goals, and that comes with first, depending on what their goal is, would they need more wit to do it, or would they need more intelligence? More often than not, it's more intelligence. So then I have to look at myself and say, in their pursuit of that intelligence, what would they practically have to do to get to there? And if it's something to do with manipulation and working their way up, maybe a hierarchy to get to a certain place, then yeah, they'd be way more quick-witted, because there'd be way more opportunities for them to be caught, or way more opportunities for them to either to do things, or so on and so forth. And so I imagine them that they'd have to be more of a witty character, sort of like you'd write a political thriller. Like, though usually politicians are very witty, and so but then I would have to, then I'd temper the intelligence and usually scale out wit more at that point. But then if I wanted to make it something like, if I was building, like, let's say Emperor Palpatine, I would definitely lead more on intelligence. I would argue that Emperor Palpatine was not quick-witted, and but he did have wit, and that would reflected in his level of intelligence. He was so intelligent that he was thinking so many steps ahead. He did not need to be quick-witted, because he was moving the pawns before anyone even realized they've all been moved, as a way to say it. And if you're going to build a character like that, even if they're not a villain, I would say a villain actually is a lot easier to build a character like that. It's its own archetypes, to be honest. Where it's harder is to build a hero like that, because then where does their limitations stop? I mean, the best way I can point it out is Iron Man or Reed Richards. Both are considered gods in the Marvel universe, because they can build technology that far exceeds anything they want, and it's just because they're hyper intelligent. Even DC has this problem with Brainiac. Like, the idea that your intelligence can go so far that it exceeds with your ability to think quickly or think on the spot, that it creates kind of a void, I would say, or like its own black hole of storytelling. And so I always try to find a way to temper that. And I think you're right, Jeremy and Sarah, that it needs to be developed as it goes, or like it's something that happens as you're developing the character. But I also find that it's something that you need to create a solid base for, and you need to find at least somewhere where one of them stops, because you can easily create a point where you have a character, either villain or hero or protagonist or antagonist or even ancillary, where all of a sudden they could do whatever want. They're essentially a god in the world you created, just because their potential doesn't really have a cap at that point. That's why intelligence is the secret way to win every single Fallout game.
Yeah.
That's not a lie. Easy mode in Fallout. Full max out your intelligence.
Oh yeah.
Same in Dark Souls.
Yeah, it makes all your laser weapons get buffed.
And you can do all the science victories, which are like super easy, and you can, like, it's stupid. And even in Dark Souls, max out your intelligence. All of a sudden you're doing magic and you never have to actually fight a boss. You just sit back and go pew 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 pew, dead. Secret easy modes. Anyway, any last thoughts? Anyone?
Why is the sky blue?
That is an excellent question. There is actually an answer. But I don't know
Water, because of the water vapor in the air. The sun reflects off it and creates a natural blue light. That's what water is, blue. Just because it absorbs. And so because there's so much water vapor in the air, we see blue. Anything else? Anyone?
What is the meaning of life?
42.
Yes.
As always, I was C4. Beside me was Sara Vike. Below me was the Great Greeks Goblin. To the corner was Sir Jeremy. We're sorry Insanieac couldn't be with us. We are the Villains Talk Show, and we were your villain hosts. And we're also answering the meaning of life in rapid format. Sorry you had nothing better to do, but thank you for spending it here. If you want to help us out, either download the app, Patreon, subscribe things. I'm just going to point in random directions because I don't edit these videos. And always...
Anybody?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, someone does. Thank you for watching. Bye.
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 Bye. So you could say Insanieac had something better to do.
I'm not going to
He's-
say that kid had nothing better to do. Did you notice how less passive-aggressive it was?
It was much more like human almost.
Yeah.
Human. That's terrifying.
You know what?
Who wants to be human?
I'm not human.
I'm just saying, like, this
Neither am
format
I.
was a lot less passive aggressive, which made it more like human.
God, you're greasy.
Me?
And I ended the stream.